Have you ever stopped and thought, like actually thought about what happened when you click on something on your computer, or for programmers when you execute a program? I'm not talking about some vague answers. I'm talking about the real answer here, not your regular vague answer that you get on YouTube, Instagram, and all. Could you even believe that the CPU, the most powerful chip on earth, is almost the simplest, most embarrassingly simplest thing to understand? Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Today, we are going to talk about the CPU. We are going to talk about what actually made up computer instruction and what runs behind the scene, the fetch and execute cycle, the RAM, the register, and every other component that will give you deep understanding of what happened behind the scene. At the end of the day, we will answer that one question, and that is, how does a computer actually run a program? Now, when most people hear about a computer, what comes to their mind is the laptop, the desktop, but no, that is not only what a computer is. A computer can be pretty much anything that does smart stuff. Think about your smartphone on your hand, it's a computer. Think about your smartwatch, it's a computer. And I can give on and on example of many hardwares that qualify as computer. Now, how does a computer actually do stuff that are actually smart? And this is because it possesses something called the central processing unit, which is the CPU that I mentioned earlier. And this CPU fetches instruction from the RAM, which is where every instruction that you give to your computer goes at first, and the CPU fetch this and executes all this instruction one by one until you are done giving it that instruction, or until it reaches the end of such instruction. And it does this in a cycle called the fetch and execute cycle. And as you can imagine, the cycle continues on and on until something actually stops it. So what are the things that are actually getting delivered to the CPU? And these are binary data. So think about binary data as zeros and ones. Many of us are familiar with binaries, zeros and one, and this is the only language that the computer actually understands in the real sense, right? So this binary data is what is getting delivered to the computer, and these are what machine code are. So if you hear machine code next time, just know that they are talking about a bunch of zeros and one. So now, most human, we don't understand binaries, we don't understand zeros and ones and all of that. How are we able to give an instruction to computer in the language that it actually understand? And this is where the assembly language comes in. Think about assembly language like some kind of abstraction that is built on top of binaries for human to be able to understand the instructions given to a computer. Now that we've talked about binaries, we talk about the machine language, let's put things into a little bit of perspective. So say on your smartphone you have a calculator app that you want to calculate, say, 2 plus 2. So every instruction that you give to the app on your phone, it's being executed on your RAM, right? So this instruction goes to your RAM, and the CPU fetches this instruction from your RAM and executes it. Let's say you type 2 plus 2 minus 2 times 2. So the CPU keep on fetching, executing until it reaches the end of that instruction, or until you stop giving it that instruction. Or in an advanced way, as we will soon see in later episode, how this fetch and execute cycle is being obstructed and what's actually obstructed to be able to reach the end of that instruction. Now, this interesting part, the CPU, as we have mentioned earlier, the central processing unit, which is where the processes actually take place. It has a register called instruction pointer. It's an internal register of the CPU that helps keep track of the current memory address of the instruction that is being executed, right? So you can think of this instruction actually coming from the RAM, as I've said earlier. So the RAM is like a random, as its name, random access memory. This is where every temporary instruction that's been executed leave first, right? So as every instruction in there inside RAM has an address, and this instruction pointer help keep track of those address. So if instruction pointer points to an address, execute it, move to the next address, and then execute it. This is why programs are actually able to run in order. Although there are some instructions like jump or conditionals, and this special instruction makes program execution jump from one instruction to the other that is not even related entirely. For instance, think about the way the while loop work, the if conditionals work, and all of that. So programs might not necessarily have to run in order. So that's why we have this special instruction called jumps and conditionals. All of it at the end of the day is just instruction pointer moving around. So to recap, think of RAM as where everything lives. The instruction during execution, everything lives inside the RAM. If an instruction is not inside the RAM, it cannot be executed. And RAM is where everything is being fetched. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the CPU. The CPU also has storage, which are tiny, blazingly fast storage built right into the processor. So we are talking about nanosecond access here compared to the tens of nanosecond access that we get from accessing stuff that are inside the RAM. So, and the register can be of two types. We can have the general purpose, we can have the special purpose type of register. So when we are talking about general purpose, we are talking about the EBX, EX, on x86 processor type. And for special purpose, we've already talked about it, such as pointers that we talked about here. The register are what the CPU uses to do everything. When you add two numbers together, the results go into the register. When you call a function, the return addresses is being registered inside the register, right? So, and all of that. So think of register as the working memory of the CPU. Here is what actually busts my brain when I finally understand this. Could you believe that this CPU has no idea what app you are running? It doesn't know any processes that's going on at all. Whether you are running WhatsApp together with Instagram, whether you are doing nothing at all, it doesn't have any idea. All it sees is pointer, memory, registers, and that's all. So he just moves pointer around just like as the instruction that's been stored inside the RAM has given it. So whether you are running billions of apps, it doesn't have any idea at all. So to recap, here's what happens when a program runs. The operating system loads the program code into the RAM and then instructs the CPU to point its instruction pointer at it, and from that moment onward it just runs. The CPU just keep going through billions of loops, fetch instruction from the RAM, execute it, fetch another, execute it until it finish running all the instruction. But this now raises some serious questions. If the CPU doesn't have any idea which processes that we are running, it just fetches instruction from the RAM and executes it, how then does an app, say WhatsApp app, is not able to access the my banking app memory, and how does a malicious program cannot just come and hijack my whole computer, the whole processes? And how come then am I able to run many programs in parallel? Say I'm open WhatsApp, Instagram, everything is running at once. How am I able to do that when we've already established that we only have one instruction pointer moving around? These are the exact question we are going to be getting answer to in the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so that you don't miss the next video. So in the next episode, we are going to be discussing the 2 privilege levels that keep your computer from descending into chaos. So be there.